Hi guys, and welcome to my review of the Tanchjim Origin. My apologies for a certain delay to a certain, to an extent, but the last 2 weeks have been a constant up and down with my health not being 100% in terms of a cold that has really gotten to me. I mean, I've got a very strong asthma and bronchitis since I was a kid, and it seems that it's now catching up with me again once I'm getting a little bit older. But anyway, that's not important. What is important is I'm finally capable enough to bring you this review. My hearing as well is up to what it should be. So I decided to bring you my opinion on the Origin, especially, I mean, those that follow me know that I am a very big Tanchjim Oxygen fan. I mean, the Oxygen was my first, let's say, more expensive IEM, and I just have it on very, very high regard. Anyway, this is the box of the Origin. Typical Tanchjim, classy, really nice. I've got nothing against the waifus and all of that, but I feel that this kind of approach always confers a more serious, a more professional kind of approach, as opposed to the waifus and all of that. That whole vibe of the waifus. I honestly, I try to understand it, but I just can't. Anyway, this is the box. Like I said, understated, simple. It's got a graph, which basically is what I got as well. Some details about the driver. The driver is a brand new driver that Tanchjim has developed. Okay, remove the sleeve, open up the box, and again everything comes in the typical Tanchjim fashion. This initial box here has some paperwork and some stuff, nothing really important. And then the IEMs came over there, as you can see, in this tray with these adjustable tuning nozzles. Underneath that, a second tray with some APB tips, narrow bores and wide bores. I am using those tips because they worked absolutely beautifully. And then underneath this cover here comes the carrying case, which is again a carrying case that we've seen already in the case of the Kara. It's exactly the same carrying case. And then the cable. The cable, look, it's not bad. I actually went to the trouble of measuring it, and it actually doesn't measure too bad. But for $239, I was expecting at the very least, Tanchjim throw in their extra or their substitute cables as a stock item. They've got they've got these more upgraded cables. At least throw in one of those cables. I mean, this is $239, guys. This is okay. They've managed to keep it below the price of the Oxygen. But the reality is that the market as well is way more competitive than what it used to be back in the day when the Oxygen came out in 2019 or something. So, cable, a nice cable, some replaceable, some 2.5, 4.4, at least 4.4 and 3.5, terminations. This is my truthfully, this is my only real thing with regards to this whole presentation. Cable is not on the level I was expecting. Anyway, enough of that. I don't want to beat the dead horse. The box is there. Let's just get this whole thing out of the way here and get to what we want to know, which is what is the Origin all about. Alright, so the shell is reminiscent of the original Oxygen. Okay. However, if you look carefully, there's a detail here which I think is important to bring out. Okay, and I'm going to bring out also the other right hand side, which is, you can see the shape and everything is, you can see the shape is like kind of very similar and everything. But if you notice carefully, while the Oxygen has got this very short nozzle, which was a bit of an issue with regards to fit for many people, on the Origin, they've made this section here which enables the driver to be pushed out further, and then have still the nozzle, which then obviously confers much more depth and inevitably a much better fit, as you can see, much better fit. But also acoustically, this space that they've created by doing this kind of area here for the driver, plus the nozzle, has yielded, in my opinion, important acoustic effects. The rest of the shell is the usual, would be expected. Metal with the Tanchjim logo on one faceplate, the Origin name on the other. It looks just very, very premium. I am using an IVipQ cable. This cable, I'll link it in my description, is a cable that I've been using now lately. And although we're talking, well, you can get this cheaper when it's on sale. I got this one on sale for about $90, but usually it goes for closer to $200. And although you might ask, oh, that's a lot of money for a cable, true, it is, and I honestly wouldn't have spent that money on the cable if the cable truthfully didn't deserve it. It measures very, very nicely, way within my, let's say, my parameters that I usually, try and keep my cables in, and it just matches the origin very nicely. As I mentioned, and I showed you in the section where I was unboxing, there is replaceable nozzles, although to be honest I've just left the stock nozzles because the difference between the nozzles is minor, if any. To be honest, I listened and I listened and I listened, and I truthfully cannot pick up on a difference that is usually no more than a dB. Okay, it's usually a dB and a half of difference. So I don't know what was the idea, what was the intention. I have not yet played around with the nozzles and tried to do a retuning or anything of the sort, but fine, it's got replaceable nozzles. It's always nice, at least if these ones get damaged by some reason, you got replacement ones that you can use. Another thing which is interesting, and I want to bring your attention to, is if you look there carefully next to where the cable inserts, the venting hole is there, and then you have another venting hole there. I actually found it curious that they put the rear venting hole over there. I guess they've also found that having it there would avoid perhaps it's getting covered up like sometimes it does get when it's on the actual shell and you put it up against your ear and so on. Anyway, that's the physical part of the origin. Beautiful build, exquisite. I mean, nothing to be said. It's got a build quality which far surpasses the asking price. Nice case, nice tip selection. I'm using the APBs, as you can see. Really nothing that can be really pointed negatively, other than the cable, although adequate, it's in my opinion below par on when we're talking about a product of this level. That's just my opinion. Anyway, what then do I have here? Sorry for the mess of the oxygen. What then do I have here, and what did I bring out to compare the origin? I want to make perfectly clear before I actually get started the following. The level of some of these IEMs here is so high that truthfully there isn't a winner or a loser. There is different nuances of doing very good sound reproduction in all of them, and very much a personal taste will be the one one of the dictating factors. How it fits in your ear, how it just matches you, the look. Those factors are all to be taken into account. And although I will give you my personal opinion, my personal selection, or you can't truthfully go wrong with at least 3 of these IEMs. You can't really go wrong with them, because they are truly very, very good. That's the reality. They are very good. So what did I select? I selected the Olivetti, the OD200, because it's one of the latest IEMs around, and it is a nice IEM. Although if you guys saw my review of the OD200, I feel that it's got some valid things going for it. It's got a nice warmish sound. It's got that nice tuning venting system to take advantage of the rear wave to eliminate some standing resonances and so on and so forth. Nice shell, well built, replaceable nozzles as well. Nice cable. They did their work, and for almost $200, it's a contender to the Origin without a doubt. But its sound signature is a little bit different. Some of them, 4 of these IEMs here have a very similar sound signature, and then this one has its own sound signature, and then these 2 again have basically their own style of sound signature. So that's why it's very difficult for me to actually say, oh, this one is worse, this one is bad, this one is the better one. Sorry, it's really truthfully very difficult. Then next to it, I've got the Into Aura View Splendor, which was an IM that I reviewed as well a couple of months ago, and it is a very good IM, mind you. It is a very good IM. Again, it's got a very clever tuning system for the venting of the back of the driver to reutilize it properly so that it cancels out resonances and so on. Very smart, very nicely built IM as well, full resin shell. It's using a cable from Angel Ears, which is the Abyss, which is a cable that, although not the original cable, they actually supplied it when I bought this with this IM, and it matches this View Splendor beautifully. It's got a very nice signature as well, more on the warmish side, but the bass and the mids are the standout features. Next to that, the BQ EYZ Wind, 2 drivers, a bone conduction and a 10mm driver. The best BQ EYZ to date, period. It's the best one. There's just no denying that. This is the best BQ EYZ to date. Very detailed sound, just the right amount of bass, very nice. The bone conduction does work, it does add just that little extra amount where it should in terms of the overall actual presentation, not just specific parts of the frequency range. Duno Falcon Ultra, an IM that when I reviewed it, I praised it and I still praise it. Very nice sounding IM. Again, the adjustable tuning nozzles. It's got a beautiful fit. It's a nice small IM. It fits nicely. Well accessorized. These Duno tips worked beautifully with it, so I didn't even have the need to go and fetch anything else. In terms of the sound, it's kind of a, you could almost kind of say a harmonish sound. Nice bass, really nice execution of bass. I would say the bass of the Ultra and of the Into Aura are probably 2 of the better basses overall here. Very nicely done. I mean, very nicely done. On the right hand side here, finally, the SIM got the EA 1000 format. Again, a dual driver setup, a passive and then an active 10mm driver. Beautiful shell, beautiful shell. If you notice, they also use that same kind of philosophy in terms of the driver mounting that the Origin uses, so that the driver is closer to the nozzle, and so that by that way you're actually able to put the driver basically more into your ear canal and get the best performance out of it possible. The sound of the EA, the format has the adjustable nozzles, which do differentiate the sound quite significantly. Plus, you can still play around with the nozzles and create extra tunings like I've done. I'm using the red nozzle for this purpose. So these are all stock nozzles. None of them have been modified, and it's that in stock. It's the best stock format that I've used yet to compare these IMs. In the OD, that was the case. In the Falcon, that's the same situation. In the format, the same situation, and in the Origin as well, the same situation. And then the Oxygen, and obviously the Origin. The Oxygen, I mean, I've said so much about it and I've made so many videos about it. I don't think I need to talk a lot. It's an IM that has been around forever. It was a staple. It was a reference. It was either this or then you had the Moondrops, the KXXS, and then later on the Kato. So it kind of they traded blows between each other. The HANA 2021 at one point as well came into that little battle as well. But basically it was the Oxygen or that, and if personally myself, I have always had the Oxygen as a high reference. If you want a really good single DD, the Oxygen for sure. Okay, I'm sure like any other of these IMs, they might not please everybody, but I think it's kind of unanimous or unanimously accepted that the Oxygen is a very well tuned, very well sounding IM. Focus is on the mids and on the highs, although I think it's got more than enough bass, ample bass and so on. I will reference just one more thing, which is the drivers, although the same, they are just different generations of drivers, and the tuning did change very slightly. I still feel that the Origin Oxygen, is the better sounding one, but for this purpose I used the latest oxygen that I had, which is this one here, okay, which has got a little bit more bass energy comparatively. How can I then position the origin now when, you know, obviously it's facing such illustrious competition and good and really good IEMs? The thing that gets you on straight away, at least at me, with the origin, the moment you start listening to it, is how surprisingly very detailed it is, and it's just got this very nice tonality overall. So you start listening to it, and I mean, I can give you a few examples. Let me see here. Save This Dance For Me from Joyce Cooling, or if I go for something like Keep Pushing from Les Sabre. I mean, especially the Keep Pushing from Les Sabre. It's not that, you know, the IMs here don't play that song nicely. No, they do. But there's something about the tonality and the timbre and the way that the origin just brings the song out that just keeps you glued to it, and you want to listen to another song and be equally surprised once again, and another one, and you know, again I repeat, the differences between three of them are not going to be monumental. Well, four of them if I include as well the oxygen. You will notice more differences towards three of them. So those differences are in the tonality and in the way that it just, you know, executes things compared to the Olivetti, compared to the Intuitor, and compared to the BQIZ are noticeable. They're noticeable with the BQIZ because the BQIZ just doesn't have the bass presence that this has. With the Intuitor, this doesn't have the upper mids and treble detail that this has, and the same situation with the OD. So you notice with these three that. With the Duno Falcon Ultra, with the Simgot, and with the Oxygen, you notice that difference, but it's way more subdued, way more difficult to pick up on it. Bass, beautifully done. Beautifully done. It's not a bass monster IM, no, but it's got high quality bass. End of story. Is it better than the Oxygen? Yes. Not a lot better than the Oxygen, but it's just got that extra little bit more than the Oxygen does. Okay, and it should. I mean, it's 4 or 5 years down the line, new driver technology. It should. Better executed design of the mounting of the driver. It should. Okay, mids, very equal, very equal. What you do notice, in my opinion, is because of the way the bass is, yeah, these mids just come across with a more, let's say, luxurious presentation. I'm trying to find the best word. It's not that the mids here are not good. I mean, that's the forte of the Oxygen. Fantastic. But this just has, it's like, if I was to make an analogy for, let's say, an automobile like I sometimes do, this here is like an S-Class from, let's say, 2015, 2016, okay? That's an S-Class from that era. And this is a current latest generation S-Class. It's not going to be monumentally better than the older one. It's not going to be monumentally quicker, but it's just got that extra little bit more of luxury, of cleanliness, of detail that just makes it a little bit more polished, a little bit more mature, a little bit more upscale, okay? Treble, fantastic as well. It's not harsh, not aggressive. You know, that was an area that some people complained about it here on the Oxygen. On the Origin, no, it's not an issue there. Okay, so basically I've compared it to the Oxygen, and basically what I'm saying is, in terms of its sonic overall performance, it is an upgrade over the Oxygen. Is it a huge monumental disparity of an upgrade? No, but it is enough, in my opinion, that when you have some spare cash to spare, when you got some spare cash and you want to, this is definitely an IM that would be a good complement to the original Oxygen. I'm not saying get rid of the Oxygen, no. Keep the Oxygen. This has got its merit. It's earned its merit. It's this by itself, this and the Blonde 03, I think, are two IEMs that are very much responsible for having created the landscape of current single DDs that we have. I would include maybe another one or two models there, maybe the original tin HiFi, the T2, okay, and perhaps even the HD Sound Heart Mirror as well. Those four IEMs definitely are responsible for helping the craze of single DDs over the last 3 years to have become what they've become. Without these IEMs, especially without the oxygen in this mid-tier section, you wouldn't have had the other companies doing what they've done and doing at a lower price. I mean, come on. The Olina, what was the Olina? The Olina was basically an attempt to offer an oxygen at a cheaper value. It did a very good job because the driver was basically the same and the tuning came close. So you were able to get an oxygen magic at a third of the price. So, you know, we have to give this IM, in my opinion, its due respect. So I wouldn't say don't, you know, if you have it, sell it, and no, keep it. And this is definitely a worthy upgrade to your original. Whether this now will last as long as the oxygen, that's a different story. Going now to the other ones, compared to the Arrivetti, it's just a better IM. It's the tuning is all different, granted, but it's just a nicer overall sounding IM, especially in the upper mids and the treble. That's where you see this just, you know, it's separating the wheat from the chaff. It's very evident that in that area there of the upper mids and treble, things just have a different feel, a different maturity. So it is a better IM than the Arrivetti. Compared to the Intuara has got an amazing bass and an amazing mids. So there, you know, they are trading blows very competently. It's only in the upper mids and treble that once again this just loses. It just doesn't have that little extra little bit that the Origin has. My apologies. Okay, compared to the BQE-YZ, it's the opposite to the previous two. In terms of detail up top, loads of detail. That bone conduction does actually help. So loads of detail. However, it just doesn't have enough bass to sometimes complement that energy properly, and there the Origin just takes over. The balance, especially the balance, and I think that's one of the biggest achievements of the Origin, is how very well balanced it is. Very well balanced, and it's that balance that makes it so magical, so captivating when you listen to it. Okay, compared to the Falcon Ultra, a more serious bass performance from there, definitely. That's also using a fantastic driver, by the way, solidly designed driver. And in the for the rest, for the mids and the treble, it's not that that's worse or this is better. But if I have to kind of give, let's say, an overall preference, at least for the songs that I like to listen to, this edges out the Falcon more times than the Falcon does the Origin. Just edges it out. I mean, honestly, guys, and this is my ears listening my music. You know, it's like I said, it's always very complicated. Like Lunar Love from Jacob Gurevich. You listen to it on the Falcon, it is amazing. The guitar sounds flawless, like it does on the BQIZ, like it does on the Intuara. It just sounds absolutely magical. You put the Origin on, and there's just something there that I can't actually just put my finger what it is. And I just and I take it down to what I said just moments ago. It's the balance. I think that's the reason that it just makes things, that song just comes across silk. It's beautiful. I mean, like I said, you'll have it in my playlist and you guys can listen to it. It's an absolutely beautiful song, and the Origin just has that little extra that edges it out over the Intuara, edges it out over the BQ, it edges it out over the Falcon Ultra. You know, it's not a monumental difference, and maybe in your case you put it in, and because you got a different ear anatomy to me, you might not even pick up on it, and you might think otherwise. But to me, that's how I perceive it. Okay. To the EA1000, the EA1000 does have those adjustable nozzles that actually do change the tuning in a noticeable manner. I'm using the red ones. the ones that got the red O-ring. And honestly, it's a situation very similar to the Falcon Ultra. They are constantly trading blows, but it's I would look, this is a tie for me. I honestly, if over here with this, I could kind of maybe decide more easily towards the Origin overall. With regards to the SIMGOT, I cannot do it because I just find the EA1000 format an absolute beast of an IM. It just satisfies me fully. And like I said, I'm using the red O-ring nozzle. There's one nozzle that I myself have tuned to my preference. I've done my own little thing to it, and that one even sounds better. Some people have said that, oh, the bass there on the 1000 sometimes is not what it's supposed to be, and the LM, for example, has got a better bass. I disagree. I think again that one of the main virtues of the format, like the Origin, is the balance, and it is very well balanced. Everything just comes across with the right amount of energy, the right amount of presence, the right amount of detail. To my ears, there's nothing that you can, this is wrong, or no. I mean, even songs like Arasio Bossa from Andrea Razzuti, or Say This Dance From Me. Say This Dance From Me from Joyce Colding. That's a good song to actually. The way that the format is dynamic, and just I can't fault it. I cannot say no, the Origin does better than that, because it doesn't. It does the same thing. The Origin or that, if I listen to this song with either one, and they sound the same. Blackbird from Lady Blackbird. I mean, again, the same situation. I cannot say that there's an instance where no, I like more the format, or I like more the Origin. No, there isn't. If I'm to go, for example, for, let me see, the Pink Panther by Marcus Philippe. Like I said, I've got it in my playlist, and you guys can check it out. This is one song that I actually just preferred it on the Origin, just ever so slightly. Why? I don't know. I'm be as honest as possibly. I don't know. It just felt nicer on the Origin. Not by much. And that's the reality. I mean, guys, the job of being a reviewer is monumentally hard. Okay, so for me to sit here and tell you, no, this is now the bomb, and this is the one you guys must go and buy, and because this just tramples all over the no, that's wrong. I can't do that. That's not ethical. That's why I'm saying my preferences. Okay, my preferences, because the truth is, if you have a Falcon Ultra, if you have a format, if you have an Into Aura, View, Splendor, if you have the BQZ Wind, if you have any of these four, yes, you will see differences to the Origin, but it's not differences. I mean, maybe you're a person that, for example, doesn't appreciate too much the bass and likes more the mids and the highs. Then the BQZ will be the winner, will be the one that will come out on top out of this comparison. If you actually listen to it. So it's very, very difficult. Anyway. Tonally, like I said, the balance that they've achieved here is monumental. Bass, mids, and treble, everything just comes in the right amount, just like the format. In terms of its technicalities, timbre and tonality is spot on. Beautiful timbre and tonality. Plenty detailed retrieval. Soundstage and imaging, spot on once again. There are occasions where maybe, for example, the BQYZ might just be a little bit more sound stagey, okay, a little bit more imaging capable. But if I'm to look at the overall package, or how coherent it is sonically and then technically, this is it's faultless. The same thing like the format on the Falcon. Technically, you can see that this is capable of edging it out ever so slightly, a little bit more, just a little bit more detailed retrieval, a little bit more air. Okay, And that's it, guys. I mean, I just there isn't really much more than I can say. I'll show you now the graphs. So you guys can afterwards just have a browse and see what you think of them and how they compare to each other graphically. But the most important part, which is sonically, the Origin took a long time to come out. The reality is that Tanchjim had very big shoes to fill when you had something like this. And then back in the time of the Oxygen, the competition wasn't much, so that's why it lasted as long as it did. Nowadays, they had to really bring their game together, and they took their time to tune it. They took their time to launch it, and I'm glad they did. I'm glad they didn't rush it. I'm glad they didn't take the philosophy of some companies where they just launch like 10 IEMs a month. They really took their time in developing this, and it shows, and it's paid off in my opinion. They've given us a mid-tier IM that is a solid IM, and it joins my selection of IMs in that of single DDs, in that price, which I think are the top ones, which is the case of the Fermat, the case of the Duno. Definitely, I mean, there's another IM which is the Sonic Memory, but I'm not mentioning it because the company really doesn't know how to, let's say, respect those that try and do something for them. So I'm not going to push them too much. That's the reality. Unfortunately, it's a pity because it's a fantastic IM. So that selection of IMs that are solid performers in terms of single DDs of up to $500 definitely now has got the Origin in there. And the Origin, Fermat, Duno Falcon Ultra are, for me personally, the top ones, with then the likes of the BQYZ Wind and the Into Aura coming in second place, a very close second place. I mean, there's noticeable differences in certain aspects, in certain areas, true, but like I said earlier, you can't go wrong with any one of these IEMs. You truthfully cannot go wrong. As long as you know what you want, you cannot go wrong. If you want the one that, if you want something which is more versatile overall, probably this is one of the better ones here compared to some others. And that's it, guys. I'll show you now the graphs and we'll wrap it up. All right, you take care. Hi guys, and welcome now to the graph section here for the Tanchjim Origin. Let me take away all of these graphs. Okay, so that's the graph there for the Origin, and this is with the 2 additional nozzles swapped in. As you can see, the differences are minimal. I mean, I couldn't tell the difference, and for that reason I left it then with the stock nozzle that it came, which is this one. As for the graph itself, we have a window of operation, let's put it that way, of roughly 6 dBs for the base, and roughly about 9 dBs for the mids, let's say it that way. Almost 10 dBs for, let me just confirm, yeah, roughly 9 dBs for the mids. They peak at just over 3K at around 3.3 more or less. The bass is very meaty, but it's a very meaty bass. By the looks of it, it actually even seems to be bleeding into the mids and everything. But the reality is I don't perceive it that way. Why? Because then the energy that they've been able to obtain out top gives a very good balance. And it's like I was saying earlier in the review, it's the balance, it's the coherency of how everything just comes together nicely. It just makes the Origin sound so magical, I guess it's the best word. Compared to the Oxygen that I was using, and using the KB07 tips, you can see the Oxygen definitely has got a little bit more energy in the sub bass, but loses in this mid bass and in this transition into the lower mids. And then basically the mids are similar, a little bit more extension up top. But the reality is, when you actually listen to one and the other, the Oxygen does occasionally sound a little bit brighter because of not having as much bass weight, let's put it that way. But it also sounds not as polished up top. It's not a huge difference, but you notice it's just a little bit rougher, a little bit less shiny or smooth, or however you want to call it. Okay, again, please keep in mind,
The differences are not huge or not monumental, but they are enough to be picked up and enough to say that yes, it justifies, when you have the cash available to get an Origin. Don't sell the oxygen, in my opinion. Anyway, that's the oxygen. Let's put here some more graphs. This one that I'm going to show you now is for the BQEYZ, the wind. Let me just make this black so you can see a little bit better. The wind, as you can see, it's not so much up top, although this is all over the place and jagged. I mean, there's loads of details in the upper mids and treble, loads of that. It's just that it's a little bit thinner in this area here of, let's say, 100 to 500 hertz, and that thinness that it's got there just makes the sound more clinical and less musical, while the sound of the Origin is definitely more musical. Okay, the next one I'm putting up now is the graph of the Falcon Ultra. As I mentioned, bass is definitely well done. It's got the same sort of, let's say, execution into the mids and so on. It's very, very similar. However, you would think that there would be a little bit more detail on the side of the Falcon up top, and funny enough, there isn't. The perception that I got, at least, is that there's more detail in the Origin. Once again, let me repeat, this is not huge differences, definitely not huge differences, and will be very much dependent on your ear and what ear tips you're using, so on. Okay, so that's the Ultra there. This next one now is the Into Outer, the View Splendor, which has got a little bit of a crazy graph in this section here. As I mentioned as well, bass is definitely the part where it shines. I mean, the bass of the Into Outer and, as you can see, the Falcon Ultra, very similar. It's just the Falcon Ultra is a little bit more polished, a little bit more well executed in this area here of the upper mids and treble, as opposed to the Into Outer, and that's where I think it edges out the Into Outer, and it's in this area. The mids and the bass and the sub bass of the Into Outer and of the Ultra are very well done, and you can see they in terms of the sub bass energy, they both edge out the Origin, but they don't have that overall balance, that overall coherency. Okay, so that's those two out of the way. This next one now is the Olivetti, and although the Olivetti graphically does kind of have the same sort of style, let's put it that way, you do notice that the treble is definitely more subdued, and coupled with that little extra mid bass that it's got there, that again, it's all about the balance that it's been struck. It's just not as agreeable as the Origin. And finally, the Fermat with the red nozzle. It's like I was saying, I really had a very difficult time in distinguishing the two of them. Why? Because what it loses here in terms of energy to the Origin, it gains there, and they kind of end up cancelling each other out when you listen to it, especially because this energy that you see here in the Origin is not really present when you listen to it. And then the rest is, I mean, they're basically the same. I mean, there's really not much that I can differentiate here. What the graph shows, and what they sound like, look, guys, like I said, this is not an easy one. Anyway, there was one other IEM that I neglected to have mentioned during the review, and that I should have done, and I'm just going to quickly touch up on it and give it its deserved time to shine, and actually compare it slightly, or compare it, not slightly, but compare it with the Origin, which is the PENON, the Vortex. The Vortex is one of those IEMs that I think just kind of went under the radar and didn't really get the deserved attention that it deserves. And when you see the graph, you'll understand what I'm trying to say and what I mean. Let me just quickly take away here. As you can see, the Vortex it's basically very similar in the way that it executes its sub bass transition to the mids, and it's just then the way that it does the pin again, which differentiates it from the Origin. It's a little bit less less energetic. Okay. However, when you do listen to it, the reality is very much like on the Origin case. It's very well balanced. And to correct what I said earlier, the Origin joins definitely the format, joins definitely the Duno Falcon Ultra, and joins the Vortex, the PENON Vortex, as the four main go-to single DDs, in my opinion, at this price range of up to, let's say, $350. In that, the Vortex in itself costs just over $200 as well. So it's just it's on the price bracket of the Origin, these ones, they just edge out that second group of IMs, which is composed of the Olivetti, of the Into Aura. And I think the main reason that makes these IMs stand out, let me just put here quickly the format, and as well the Duno. I think the main reason that makes these IMs stand out is the balance that they've struck. The one that's perhaps the least balanced, if I look at it this way, or if I go on that as my main focus, is probably the Ultra, just because it's got the Falcon Ultra, because it's got a good solid base. But even then, the balance that all of these four IMs have is very well achieved. It's very well done, very well. They are really truly very well tuned, any one of these four. Okay. Anyway, guys, I'm dragging. I don't want to bother you anymore. As always, like and subscribe, and hopefully I will bring you a few more IMs in the coming day, a few more reviews in the coming days. All right. You take care now. Bye bye.